Some say Barack Obama was the greatest political leader of his generation, but for one struggling mother in Chicago, he became something far more important, an answer to a desperate prayer. Sarah Johnson worked 2 jobs to support her 12-year-old son Marcus, a debate team prodigy whose dreams were shattered by a devastating car accident. With $50,000 in medical bills and no insurance coverage, she did the only thing left she could think of. She wrote a letter to Barack Obama. What happened next would change not just her family's life but the lives of countless other struggling families across America. This is a story about a mother's love, a child's dream, and how sometimes the biggest assists happen far from the spotlight. Sarah Johnson's hands shook as she opened another envelope from the hospital. Her kitchen table was covered with bills, each one stamped with bright red letters that spelled past due. The clock on the microwave blinked 11:47 p.m. But sleep wasn't coming tonight, not with this much worry eating at her heart. "Please," she whispered, "just this once, let it be good news." But the letter wasn't good news. It never was. The words blurred as tears filled her eyes. Final notice, payment of $50,000 required within 30 days. Sarah crumpled the paper in her fist. How was she supposed to find that kind of money? She already worked as a cashier at Target during the day and waited tables at night. Every penny went to keeping their small apartment, putting food on the table, and trying to chip away at Marcus's medical bills. Marcus, her beautiful, talented boy. Just thinking about him made her chest hurt. He was only 12 but already showed remarkable intelligence and eloquence. Before the accident, he'd been the star of his school's debate team, with dreams of becoming a lawyer someday. At least that's who he used to be. Now he could barely walk without pain. The sound of shuffling from the hallway made her quickly wipe her eyes. She didn't want Marcus to see her crying again. "Mom?" Marcus stood in the doorway, leaning on his crutches. "You're still up?" Sarah tried to smile, but it felt wrong on her face. "My leg was hurting. I couldn't sleep." Sarah's heart squeezed. The multiple fractures in his leg needed surgery, and soon. Every day they waited made things worse. The doctors said if they didn't do the operation within the next few months, he might never walk properly again. "Did you take your pain medicine?" she asked quickly, gathering up the bills and shoving them into a drawer. "We ran out yesterday." Marcus lowered himself into a chair, wincing. "I didn't want to tell you because I know they're expensive." Sarah closed her eyes. Another thing she couldn't provide. Another failure. "I'll get more tomorrow," she promised. "I get paid in the morning." Marcus nodded, but she saw the doubt in his eyes. He was too young to understand about money but old enough to know when things weren't right. She hated that he had to worry about things like this. "Remember when Dad used to take me to debate practice?" Marcus asked suddenly, before he left. Sarah's hands froze on the drawer handle. They rarely talked about Robert anymore. It had been 10 years since he walked out, leaving nothing but a note and a stack of unpaid bills. Marcus had been just 2 years old. "You remember that?" she asked softly. "Kind of." Marcus traced patterns on the table with his finger, mostly from the pictures. "But I remember he used to quiz me on facts and figures. He said I had a mind like a steel trap." Sarah remembered too. Robert had been so proud of Marcus's early intelligence and speaking ability. "He's got the Johnson brains," he used to say. "He'll be smarter than Obama someday." Now Robert was somewhere in Atlanta with his new family, and Marcus couldn't even walk up the stairs without help. "You'll debate again," Sarah said firmly. "We'll figure something out, I promise." "How?" Marcus's voice cracked. "I heard you talking to the insurance people yesterday. They won't pay for the surgery." "There are other ways." Sarah moved to his side, wrapping her arms around his shoulders. He was getting so tall, but right now he felt small against her. "Maybe we can get a loan." Or, she trailed off, knowing it was hopeless. No bank would give her a loan. Her credit was already ruined from the existing medical bills. She'd even tried starting a GoFundMe page, but after 3 months, it had only raised $127. "It's okay, Mom." Marcus patted her hand. "Maybe I can do something else. Mrs. Rivera says I could help coach the younger kids in debate club." The brave smile on his face broke something inside Sarah. "No," she said more sharply than she meant to. "This isn't over. You're going to debate again. You're going to be better than ever." Marcus looked up at her, hope flickering in his eyes. "You really think so?" "I know so." Sarah squeezed his shoulders, making a silent promise to herself. She would find a way. She had to. Later, after she'd helped Marcus back to bed and given him some Tylenol from her purse, Sarah sat alone in the dark kitchen. The bills seemed to glow in the drawer. Mocking her, she pulled out her phone and opened her banking app. Available balance, $27.83. Her next paycheck would come tomorrow, $342.56 from Target. The tips from her waitressing job had been bad this week, only about $200. The rent was due in 10 days, $1,200. Electric bill, $86.42. Gas bill, $45.67. Groceries, pain medicine, bus fare to work. The numbers swam before her eyes. She'd already sold everything valuable they owned: her wedding ring, Robert's old records, the little bit of jewelry her mother had left her. The only things left were Marcus's debate trophies, and she'd die before she took those away from him. A sound escaped her throat, something between a laugh and a sob. She was failing. All these years of working herself to exhaustion, of promising Marcus that they'd be okay, of telling herself that being a single mother just meant she had to be twice as strong, and now this. The tears came fast and hot. Sarah buried her face in her hands, trying to muffle the sounds, but in the quiet apartment, her sobs seemed to echo off the walls. They were the sounds of a mother's heart breaking, of dreams crumbling, of hope slipping away like water through desperate fingers. She didn't hear the soft thump of crutches in the hallway or see Marcus watching from the shadows, his own tears falling silently as he witnessed his mother's pain for the first time. In the morning, she would put on her Target uniform and smile at customers. She would serve food at the diner and laugh at bad jokes for better tips. She would be strong again because that's what mothers do. But for now, in the darkness of her kitchen, surrounded by bills she couldn't pay and promises she couldn't keep, Sarah Johnson let herself break. Marcus backed away from the kitchen doorway, his crutches silent on the carpet. He'd never seen his mom cry like that before. Sure, there had been quick tears she'd wiped away when she thought he wasn't looking, but this was different. This was his strong, unbreakable mother falling apart because of him. He hobbled back to his room and closed the door carefully. The pain in his leg was getting worse, but it was nothing compared to the ache in his chest. Moonlight streamed through his window, illuminating his debate trophies on the bookshelf. He reached for one, remembering the day he won it at the state championships just 8 months ago, before the accident. He'd been so nervous that morning, his hands shaking as Mom helped him tie his tie. "You've got this, baby," she'd said, straightening his collar. "Just speak your truth." And he had. Everything clicked that day, every argument, every rebuttal, every closing statement. He'd been named best speaker, breaking the tournament record for his age group. College recruiters had started coming after that, watching his debates from the audience with their notepads and whispered conversations. Now those same auditoriums were empty. No recruiters, no cheering crowds, no more records to break. Just a 12-year-old boy with a shattered leg and a mother working herself to death to fix it. The idea came to him suddenly, clear as the moonlight streaming through his window. He remembered a documentary they'd watched in school about President Obama. How he'd grown up with a single mother who sacrificed everything for his education. How he understood struggle and perseverance. Maybe, just maybe. Marcus reached for his laptop, a Christmas gift from 3 years ago that still worked most of the time, and started typing. "Dear Mr. Obama, my name is Marcus Johnson. I'm 12 years old, and debating is my life. Or it was, until a car accident shattered my dreams." He wrote until his eyes burned, pouring out his story. He wrote about the accident, the injuries, the doctors. He wrote about Mom working 2 jobs and still not having enough. He wrote about his dreams of becoming a lawyer someday. When he finished, he read it over once, then deleted it all. It was stupid to think Barack Obama would care about some kid from Chicago with a busted leg. He probably got thousands of letters every day. Still, as he crawled back into bed, the idea wouldn't leave him alone. Obama was from Chicago too. He knew what it was like to face setbacks, to have people say you couldn't do something. Maybe. No, Marcus pushed the thought away. Mom was already carrying too much. He couldn't add to her burdens with impossible hopes. But in his dreams that night, he was back on the debate stage. His leg was strong, his words were flowing freely, and the crowd was cheering his name. In his dreams, he could still soar. And somewhere in Chicago, in a kitchen lit only by moonlight, a mother's tears were drying as she made plans of her own. Sarah Johnson had reached her breaking point, yes, but sometimes breaking points are where new paths begin. The next week passed in a blur. Sarah picked up extra shifts where she could. sold their old television, and even reached out to Robert. Though his phone had been disconnected, nothing was enough. The surgery deadline loomed closer, and Marcus's pain was getting worse. Then, one night after her diner shift, Sarah sat at her kitchen table with a pen and paper. Marcus was asleep, his pain medicine finally kicking in. The apartment was quiet except for the hum of the old refrigerator. "Dear Mr. Obama," she wrote, then immediately crumpled the paper. Too formal. "Dear President Obama," another crumpled ball. "Mr. Obama, my son Marcus," the third attempt joined the others on the floor. How do you write to someone who might be your last hope? How do you put a mother's desperation into words? Sarah closed her eyes, remembering Marcus's last debate competition. He'd been so articulate, so confident, the future so bright it hurt to look at. She picked up her pen again. "I never thought I'd write a letter like this. My name is Sarah Johnson. I'm a single mother in Chicago, and my son Marcus is 12 years old. Public speaking isn't just a hobby to him, it's his dream, his future, and now maybe his only chance." The words flowed easier now, straight from her heart to the page. She wrote about Marcus's talent, his dedication, his kindness to other students. She wrote about the accident, the diagnosis, the crushing weight of medical bills. She wrote about working 2 jobs and still falling short, about watching her son's dreams slip away while she stood helpless. "I'm not asking for a handout," she wrote. "I've always taught Marcus that we earn what we get, but sometimes life throws more at you than you can handle alone. Sometimes even the strongest people need help." Tears smudged the ink as she finished. "Marcus doesn't know I'm writing this. He'd probably be embarrassed if he knew, but a mother will do anything for her child, even swallow her pride and ask a stranger for help. All I want is to see my son walk again, to see him smile like he used to give him a chance at his dreams. Thank you for reading this far." She signed it simply, Sarah Johnson. She read it over once, twice, 3 times. It wasn't perfect, but it was honest. She folded the letter carefully and slipped it into an envelope. Now came the hard part, finding out where to send it. Sarah spent the next hour searching online, the Obama Foundation headquarters in Chicago, his publishing house, his former campaign office. Every address she found felt like a shot in the dark. Finally, at nearly midnight, she found a P.O. box in Chicago that was supposedly connected to Obama's foundation. It might be outdated. It might go to some assistant who threw away letters without reading them, but it was something. She addressed the envelope with shaking hands, used one of her precious stamps, and set it by her purse for tomorrow. "Please," she whispered to no one in particular, "just let it reach him." Days passed with no response. The hospital called daily now, pressing for payment. Marcus tried to hide his pain, but Sarah could see it in his eyes, in the way he barely touched his food, in the new paleness of his face. Then, 2 weeks after she'd mailed the letter, Sarah's phone rang. Unknown number. "Hello? Is this Sarah Johnson?" a woman's professional voice asked. "Yes, this is she. I'm calling from the Obama Foundation. We received your letter about your son." Sarah's heart stopped. "Yes? President Obama was deeply moved by your story. He'd like to help." The woman explained that the Obama Foundation had a new healthcare initiative that could cover Marcus's surgery, not just the operation, but all the follow-up care, physical therapy, and medications. Sarah couldn't speak, couldn't breathe. This couldn't be real. "Mrs. Johnson, are you there?" "Yes," Sarah whispered, tears streaming down her face. "Yes, I'm here. There's something else. President Obama would like to speak with Marcus personally. He's launching a new educational mentorship program, and he thinks Marcus might be an ideal candidate." That evening, Sarah sat Marcus down and told him everything about the letter, the foundation, the surgery that would now happen next week. "But why would he help us?" Marcus asked, his eyes wide with disbelief. "Because sometimes people remember what it's like to struggle," Sarah said, wiping away tears. "Because sometimes good people do good things just because they can." The day before Marcus's surgery, as they sat in the pre-op consultation with the doctor, Sarah's phone rang. Unknown number. "Mrs. Johnson, this is Barack Obama." The voice was unmistakable, the same measured, thoughtful tones she'd heard countless times on television. Sarah's hand trembled as she put the phone on speaker. "Mr. President," she managed. "I wanted to wish Marcus good luck tomorrow," Obama said, "and to tell you both how much your letter meant to me. My mother made similar sacrifices for me. Single parents like you are the real heroes. Marcus's eyes were as wide as saucers as Obama spoke to him directly. I hear you're quite the debater, Marcus. Yes, sir, Marcus stammered. Well, great debaters need strong legs to stand on, Obama said with a chuckle. So you focus on healing, and when you're better, I'd like you to come visit me. I think you could teach me a thing or two about persuasive speaking. 6 months later, Sarah sat in the audience of Marcus's school, watching him deliver a speech at the debate team's award ceremony. His limp was barely noticeable now, but his words were strong and clear. On the front row sat a special guest, Michelle Obama, representing her husband who couldn't attend due to a diplomatic trip but who had sent a personal letter of congratulations that now hung framed in Marcus's bedroom. The Obama Foundation's new children's healthcare initiative, inspired by Marcus's story, had already helped over 50 families facing similar circumstances. Sarah had been asked to serve on its advisory board, her experience as a struggling mother deemed invaluable. As Marcus concluded his speech to thunderous applause, Sarah caught Michelle Obama's eye. The former First Lady gave her a knowing nod, one mother to another, and Sarah felt a wave of gratitude wash over her. Sometimes the longest wait isn't measured in days or weeks but in the breathless space between one heartbeat and the next. Sometimes breaking points are where new paths begin. And sometimes miracles don't come with trumpets and fanfare, but in an envelope dropped into a mailbox at midnight, carrying hopes and dreams and desperate prayers. Sometimes the greatest miracle of all is discovering that the strength you needed was inside you all along, waiting for the moment when you were brave enough to break so you could learn how to soar.